Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
It is my pleasure to welcome you to the studio of Leadership Podcast from a warm, in fact, a hot Abuja. Welcome to the show. You are on to the National Economy segment of Money Radio. Today we are discussing an important issue: how Nigeria loses $26.3 billion to maritime crime. $26.3 billion to maritime crime. In the studio to discuss that with me is Mark Isibo, somebody who is knowledgeable in this area. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
To join us also later on in the program is Yusuf Babalola, somebody who covers maritime industry, and he is also poised and is an experienced person also. He will join us. So you're welcome. Mark, maritime crime costing the Nigerian economy $26.3 billion. $26.3 billion is almost 11 trillion naira, and we are talking about what? Of course, the current budgetary allocation for the country is around 13.8 trillion. Now, imagine how much it will be a percentage of 11 trillion to 13 trillion. That is 80 something percent. That is what Nigeria loses to maritime crime. Let's discuss the issue.
Thank you very much. The issue of insecurity has its own underestimated costs.
Yeah.
Whether land security, port insecurity, or marine security, insecurity is expensive. That is a cost of security. What it means that with that segment alone, Nigeria is losing over 11 trillion. That is on the water. We're not talking of the land issue, because already we're talking about how it is affecting agriculture, this banditry and terrorism, how it is affecting agriculture. What it means that Nigeria is losing on both sides. And I said, because even in the air, the issue, the economic shortage or sabotage that was brought in by coronavirus during the 2020, particularly affected air travels. It affected tourism. So this one is another area, another big area Nigeria is losing a very huge amount of money. It's not something that is supposed to be done. It's something that actually requires drastic action. Nigeria and the Nigerian authority needs to take steps to expedite action to ensure that the right things are done, and to ensure that at least we minimize it. Because of course, there is insecurity everywhere. So a secured state is just the one that is able to minimize insecurity.
Yeah.
Yes. So those kind of security challenges, we should take some proactive steps that can minimize them, so that at least for us to cut this, if not by any way, by half.
Let's look at the criminal activities that are costing costing Nigeria that's $26.3 billion dollars. We're talking about piracy,
Yes.
and we're talking about armed robbery. Yes. But the sea or the ports, in fact, this thing covers actually the Gulf of Guinea,
Yes.
and it's a wide area.
Yes.
Considering that we are even suffering the issue of insecurity on land, then when we talk about sea insecurity, it's even a wider area. That requires a whole lot. Some people might argue that is it not possible to, or does it not make sense to save some of your resources taking care of security on land instead of going to the seas because it's a wide area that is difficult to cover. And besides that, is the entire Gulf of Guinea that is suffering.
There's what they call the ocean economy.
Okay.
Ocean economy. Now you're talking about land economy, where you have agriculture, another farming, and other things. The ocean economy, that's the economy of the sea.
Yeah.
Economy of the waters. It's a different. There's no negotiating of which one first, whether to secure the land and leave the sea. No. Now you rightly put the value of the national budget. So what it means that if we are able to reduce insecurity to 0 point, it means that Nigeria from sea economy alone, from the ocean economy alone, we can fund the budget up to like 80%, 20-something%.
Yes.
You understand?
Just here instead of
Just
going to borrow.
exactly. So you can imagine what we are losing. Then from that we have not delved into whatever we are making from oil or any other tax source. What it means that even economy or ocean economy alone is capable of funding in Nigeria up to about 80%. Yes. So what we need to deal with is to deal with piracy and theft. Do you understand?
Yeah.
We need to actually piracy is a big crime and is a very major challenge to nations. But at the time the Nigerian economy is talking about sailing, there's a project they are financing that is being handled by the Nexim Bank in collaboration with others, including the Navy is a stakeholder and some other maritime organizations and even foreign organizations because it's going to link Africa. It's a continental project.
Yeah.
You understand? So at the time we're talking about sea link, that is linking African regions, the African region through the sea. That is ensuring that a ship that moves from Nigeria, that takes off from Nigeria, can land in another coastal area, in another country at ease. You understand now? Making business and commerce easy,
Yeah.
making movement of goods easy, especially now that we're talking about this issue of AFCFTA.
Yeah.
You understand? So those are some of the things that we're talking about. If we don't reduce security in the port, we don't reduce so if we are not able to reduce piracy, then I don't know how much we can achieve with the AFCFTA. Even the sea link that we're talking about will not be able to achieve this result.
You make an important point right there. If we can't achieve sea security, how can we really be competitive in
Yes.
after?
Yes.
You know, the thing comes in many in many forms.
Yes.
The cost, because when we talk about uh, sea security, of course, intercontinental trade. In fact, continental trade. It has implication for continental and intercontinental trade because, take for example, some mariners, some ship owners, or some shipping companies that want to or that bring goods to Nigeria and in and out. The Nigerian economy is more than 70% ECOWAS economy.
Yes.
And that port of Lagos constitutes the bulk of the economy of the West
Yes.
African sub-region.
Yes.
Now, if you are having continental and intercontinental trade stalled, because when you have people, when you have security issues at the Gulf of Guinea, where much of Africa's commerce takes place, people who want to bring in goods and take out goods tend to charge more
Yes.
on transportation or conveying the goods from one continent to the other or from one country in Africa to this part of the country.
Yeah.
Those are some of the costs that are incurred, which makes it more difficult because people coming to Lagos, for example, the other day, National Economy released a report, and in that report, it was carried that for each container, ship owners charge Nigerians $1,000 plus on each container that comes into the country. That information was released by Gabriel Obechi of Rain Oil. Yes, for each container. Who is that cost passed to? It's passed on to
Consumers.
the consumer, which makes it difficult. It makes it more expensive. That's what we call inflation. So this thing has many implications. Yes.
The issue is a very big one. But one thing we must not accept is the fact that it is not about Nigeria alone. We're talking of the Gulf of Guinea.
Yeah.
You understand? That is interconnected to other countries. So now, if you ask me, the major element is harnessing or connecting, getting involved, getting the involvement of all stakeholders. Nigeria alone cannot do it.
Nigeria alone cannot do it.
Yes.
That's another element you are bringing to this. That is a further discussion. Let's take a short break here, and once we come back, we'll discuss that issue because it has to do with collective resolve.
Yeah.
So let's discuss that after a break. We'll take a breather. Please stay with us. We'll come back to discuss that one.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money. Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Welcome back to the studio of Leadership Podcast. You're on to the National Economy segment of Money Radio. And today we are discussing the issue how Nigeria loses 26.3 billion to sea crime, piracy, as well as armed robbery. In the studio, still discussing that with me is Mr. Mark Isibo. Mark, yeah. And I remain your host, Keith Hammer. So, just before we went for a short break, Mark was discussing about the collective resolve because this thing affects the Gulf of Guinea. Nigeria alone cannot achieve it, and it's costing so much. That is just $26.3 billion, which is around $11 trillion. Naira.
Yes.
So the cost is actually high, and if Nigeria alone cannot do it, it requires a collective resolve.
Yes.
So what can Gulf of Guinea countries do?
If Nigeria is losing that huge amount, you can imagine what other affected countries could be losing.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, it requires collective effort. While Nigeria keeps playing this so-called Big Brother game, Nigeria requires the support, the practical, pragmatic support of others. They need to wake up. It shouldn't be seen as a Nigerian affair. yes, their inaction may be affecting Nigeria. And so because of that, Nigeria needs to do something and do it very quick. So when we are trying to do something, part of the things we need to do very quick is to get those other countries that are affected involved. There must be a determination. There must be a wake up from every stakeholder to ensure that this piracy and armed robbery in the sea is addressed, at least to some level of understanding.
Reduce it.
Yes, because what we just need is to ensure that the insecurity for whatever, because these people, these guys who constitute piracy, this and that, they are it's either they are Nigerians or they are members of other countries.
Of course.
So each country should ensure that they secure their own part. Each country or each affected person or party should ensure that they secure their own part of the sea.
You know, I remember how much this sea piracy cost that Somalia area, Somaliland. If you remember, not long ago, just a few years ago, about half a decade or about a decade ago, when piracy around that, not the Horn of Africa, around that Somalia area, was costing that entire economy so much because the pirates, in fact, they were hitting more than half of the ships that uh, went through that route. But it required and they made so much money out of it. I remember those days they would capture a ship and then place a price. Want $50 million, want $100 million. Your crew, you can, and some of those ships actually stayed at the ports of the Somali port for up to 6 months until those monies were paid. That's what it cost that economy that time, but it required a global resolve. Actually, there was some effort from European and American countries. Of course, they had a stake in that project because their merchandise were affected, so they had a stake in it. And maybe the Nigerian government or the Gulf of Guinea countries, they need to call on these foreign countries because it affects
We
them.
may not need to call on the foreign countries. What we need is, like they say in our local parlance, they say, "Na person wey get road, na the first put hand."
Yes.
So you are the owner of this problem. First of all, show commitment. Africa and other benefiting countries that are being affected must be seen to be ready to address this problem. I learned at the weekend when at the event in is it Warri or where the IG of police who was presented at the event said that they prosecuted about 20 offenders.
Yeah.
You understand? So that is a good step. But if you look at the rate,
And maybe those offenders can give some lead into who
Yes.
are really behind
but if you
this.
look at the number, the crime is so enormous to the extent that prosecution of 20 people does not amount to achievement.
Yeah.
So what do we do? Why we appreciate them for that feat? Because I will call it mean feat now because
Yeah.
it seems that nothing has been happening.
Yeah.
So if they could do that, I believe that they can do more. So what we Nigerians are asking them is inflation that we're talking about is not only caused by what happened internally, but it's now we are saying now that the inflation that is happening here is also being caused by what is happening externally because these seas that are linked to Nigeria, the cost of importation that we're talking about is also being affected by the protection of these containers. You
Yeah.
just mentioned about what happened in Somalia before now. If it costs me more to import a container, you understand, of maybe cars or some consumables, then it means that I'm going to include the cost of importing that particular thing,
Yes.
the cost of transportation,
And transfer it to,
beyond the clearing and forwarding of that particular consumable.
of course,
And if I'm going to add it, it means that I'm going to transfer it to the
to
consumer.
the end consumer.
You understand? And what
Exactly.
that means is that things are going to be more expensive for the consumers to buy. So if you were supposed to buy the item, maybe a telephone, maybe an imported telephone for 50,000 naira, you may have to buy for 55,000 naira.
Of course.
So that's 2,000, that's 5,000 is something to a family today where and at the time the economy is not singing a good song. You understand? So there must be commitment. There must be the willpower. You understand? Politicians and business people across the borders must meet. They must resolve. They must take action. There's something that has to be done. Insecurity is a crime, but that crime can be converted to benefit us if we secure the sea and the lines.
You make a beautiful point there. We have to appreciate also that it's no small feat because when you are carrying out security measures on land, you can easily block a route and make sure that people don't carry out criminal activities like the police do and some other security by checkpoints.
But it's not like that.
It's not like that.
That's the unfortunate. That's the unfortunate thing about this.
You can look at the.
But there's nowhere to stand. There's no landing port. So because the naval staff that are protecting everywhere, the marine police and the rest of them, all of them are using boats and
of course
the same thing. And sometimes the criminals
they are
ahead of us.
Yes,
they are ahead of us. Sometimes they have a bigger speed boats.
Of course,
you understand. If they have boats that can stop a ship, so it tells you that they are more prepared. So
look, this is a multi-million-dollar
business. You understand?
People make money out of
you understand? But we have to sea piracy is a global phenomenon. But we have to do something. We have to make more money for the Nigerian economy. We have to make things cheaper for Nigeria because there is no country that is operating in silos or in island. We must be taught fine because not even as much as we are trying as a government or as a people, as a country, we are trying to say that we must produce much, we must consume what we produce. There is no way we are not going to import. If we must import, how do we make it cheap for ourselves?
Yeah, it's by making all of these various means of importing
yes.
Smooth,
yes,
without hindrance.
Yes, because the protection and security of the seas will help us to benefit from the economy of the ocean.
Yeah.
And now that we are working towards AFCFTA, we have to do those things that will make it easy for us to manufacture from here. Because it's not going to be enough for us to manufacture from here. Yeah. We want to manufacture for self-sustainability, to feed ourselves,
yeah.
and also export. So even if we are going to export or import, the waterways have to be clear. They have to be safe.
Yeah.
They have to be good for movement.
Yeah.
So that nobody says that to take anything to Nigeria or bring anything to Nigeria is a no-go area. Yeah. We have to make our own country, our seas, go areas.
Yes.
So the criminals cannot stop us. Yes. We must do things that will stop them. We must do things that will make our economy work. So because if you ask me, they are just mere sabotage.
That is it.
So while they are trying to sabotage our economy, we must, as a government, get on, do some things, strategize, and take some steps that will let the criminals know that they cannot be bigger than government and the government forces.
That's a beautiful point. Thank you very much, Mark, for being with us on the program today. You have really enlightened us. We appreciate you. Thanks to you, our producers. We come to the end of Money Radio at that. To you, our listeners, also, we say thank you very much. I have been your host, Case Hammond. We encourage you to continue to be loyal to this program because this is the program that discusses issues on the Nigerian economy, business and economy. And you can always learn from this program. So we say thank you very much. COVID-19 is real. Stay safe. God bless you. Have a nice day.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.